Today we will summarize the book The Hidden Power of Subtle Influence. To be honest, books written on psychology surprise me every time because they show just how easily people can be manipulated. The scariest part is that most of the tactics you'll hear in this video are so subtle that even your conscious mind cannot detect them. They work subconsciously, like a magic pill. If you give someone this pill before talking to them, they start to believe you or act differently, as if they still have control and are making conscious decisions. But that's not really the case. For example, in one experiment, a good-looking man resembling a mannequin was sent to a shopping mall to approach random women and ask for their phone numbers to meet up. Giving your number to a stranger is a risky thing, and he received many rejections. However, when he approached a woman in front of a particular store, he received many yes. Can you guess what kind of store this was? If you thought chocolate or perfume, you'd be wrong. The answer is a flower shop. Flowers are associated with romance, so subconsciously, the environment influenced the women's behavior and led them to give their numbers. When asked afterward if the store had any effect on their decision, all the women said, "Of course not, I made the decision completely consciously." In another similar experiment, a man asked a woman on the street to have dinner with him. Researchers observed how the object he was holding affected the results. There was one specific object that significantly increased the rate of yes responses. That object was a guitar case. Let's give some examples from the business world. Here's an interesting experiment from an online furniture store. Researchers directed one group of customers to a landing page with soft cloud images in the background, and another group to a page with images of coins. Customers who saw clouds focused more on softness and comfort when choosing furniture, while those who saw coins focused more on price and tried to find the best deal. When asked afterward whether the background had any effect on their decision, all of them laughed and said no. They insisted they were independent, conscious individuals and that the clouds or coins had no effect on them. So far, these experiments were about objects. But can we create the same effect using just words? The answer is yes, and here's how. A salesman was struggling to sell a 75,000 TL product. Every time he mentioned the price, most customers would try to bargain, and when they couldn't agree, they would leave, causing him to lose many potential customers. Then, he decided to make a small change. Before saying the price, he jokingly said, "Honestly, I should be charging you 1 million TL for this product." After saying this, no one tried to bargain or said that 75,000 TL was too much. Why? Because compared to 1 million, 75,000 TL seemed like a small amount. Yes, I completely agree with you if you think that joking about 1 million TL shouldn't affect how people feel about 75,000 TL, but the truth is, it does. This changes people's perception of price on a subconscious level. In another experiment, marketers asked people to try a new energy drink and provide feedback. Many refused, which is normal because it was a new product. Then the marketers tried a different approach. Before making the offer, they asked people whether they considered themselves adventurous. Many said yes. Then when asked to try the energy drink, they all accepted. Let me share a personal experience. One day, I was talking to a banker, and somehow we started discussing the investment products they offered. He presented several options, but none of them interested me. While I was half listening and thinking about when I could leave, before explaining the next product, he said something that really caught my attention. "This is a product I even recommended to my own mother." The moment I heard that, I felt a strong sense of trust. Maybe he didn't say it intentionally, but he activated one of the most powerful principles of persuasion that Robert calls unity. Unity refers to a shared identity between the influencer and the influenced. If a communicator can show they are part of the same group as us before delivering their message, we are much more likely to cooperate or believe them. For example, one of investors' biggest concerns about Berkshire Hathaway is what will happen when Warren Buffett is no longer in charge. In a letter to shareholders about succession plans, Buffett wrote, "If you were to ask me about the future of Berkshire, I'd tell you what I'd tell my family." This was incredibly persuasive because it showed he would give advice just as he would to a family member. Unity is strongest in families. People go to great lengths to help their loved ones, some even risk their lives. Robert shows how you can use family-centered unity to influence even people who are not part of your family. In one of his university classes, he asked students and their parents to complete a survey. Student participation was high, but parental response was usually under 20%. Then, a small change increased the parental response rate to 97%. What was that simple change? They told parents that if they completed the survey, their child would receive extra points on an exam. A single exam point over a whole semester is mostly insignificant. It likely has no effect on the student's final grade, but by introducing the idea of helping a family member, the response rate increased nearly fivefold. The outcomes of these experiments are huge. Here's what they mean: if I can shift your attention to charity, fairness, or romance before delivering my message, you instantly become charitable, fair, or romantic. In other words, by using the techniques in the hidden power of subtle influence, I can change your identity, how you see yourself, and how you perceive me and my messages. Now I'll share one final experiment that explains why we are so easily influenced. In Belgium, researchers showed participants a piece of home furniture with different background photos and divided them into 3 groups. The first group saw a background photo of a single person standing alone, the second group saw 2 people standing apart, the third group saw 2 people standing shoulder to shoulder. Then, during the experiment, researchers accidentally dropped some items to see who would help pick them up. In both the first and second groups, only 20% of participants helped, but in the third group, the helping rate was 3 times higher. Now here's the most fascinating part: the participants in this study were 18-month-old infants, barely able to speak, with no logical reasoning skills. This proves that these influence mechanisms are primitive, deeply rooted, and affect us all regardless of intelligence or logic. Another study found that people perform tasks more accurately when there's a photo of a person thinking in the corner of their screen. If you put a photo of a race winner, they become more productive, positively influencing their results. Now let's talk about how to apply everything we've learned. I'll give you 6 practical tips, but first, let me summarize everything with a metaphor. Imagine planting a seed. If you want it to grow and bear fruit, you need to do 2 things. Choose a high-quality seed, prepare the soil properly. If the soil is poorly prepared, even the best seed won't grow. In this metaphor, the seed is your message, what you say to influence others. And all the studies and techniques we've seen so far are about preparing the soil. What you say matters, but what comes before you say it matters even more. In other words, the message matters. But first, make sure the person is in the right mental state to accept that message. Let's now talk about those 6 practical tips. If you're giving customers something for free, act as if you're giving it to their families, not them. This increases impact. Remember the parent-student experiment. Just 1 point dramatically raised response rates. If you need customer input to improve a product, instead of asking "what are your thoughts?" ask "what are your recommendations?" The difference may seem small but is significant. Recommendation creates a sense of unity, while feedback creates distance. If you plan to ask for a raise, do it right after receiving positive feedback or accomplishing something at work. That's when your efforts are most visible. If you're a student and want other students to donate for a cause, mention that you're also a student. This triggers unity and increases donations. Design your environment according to your goals. Before reading this book, I found motivational posters in offices silly, phrases like courage, success, quality, etc., but it turns out these things actually work by influencing us subconsciously, so think about your goals and how to decorate your space to remind you of them.